What's up, guys and girls? Welcome back to another video. Have you noticed that prices have been absolutely skyrocketing for a lot of random cards lately, and then seemingly dropping back down to either below the previous prices or even just stabilizing out? I'm sure you've noticed it because it's happened to so many cards recently. And what you've been noticing is what's called a pump and dump, for a lot of, a lack of a better term. And I'm just going to deep dive into some of these cards today and just show you what the price has done over the course of months and just kind of show off why you need to be avoiding this sort of like buying behavior and not buying into the hype and FOMO of missing out on these types of cards, because I promise you, you will eventually be able to buy back in at a lower price. So sit back, enjoy. But I did just want to go ahead and give a quick shout out. If you could like and subscribe, it helps me out a ton. We're at like 140 subs right now. It helps me out a ton. Like 90% of people are not subscribed. So if you could, go ahead and subscribe. Helps me out a ton, helps the channel out, makes me be able to make more videos for y'all, and just talk about stuff. So if you're enjoying it, appreciate you. Let's go ahead and deep dive into it. So first things first, I did just kind of want to talk about what a pump and dump like canonically is, like dictionary definition. And basically what it is a bunch of people, a group of individuals, or maybe even just one person has enough money and they go ahead and buy out an entire supply and basically short supply. Basically there's less of the supply and basically drive the price up. But because the price has now suddenly driven up, it is now driving up demand. It's like a phenomenon in people's brains. When prices go up, people suddenly want it more. So when prices suddenly spike up, people suddenly look in and go, oh my gosh, I was wanting to buy that card. Now it's $40. I gotta have it. And they buy in. Basically, that's the pump part of the pump and dump. The dump obviously comes once the person who has all the money and all the cards that they bought out suddenly starts listing them back on the market for much higher than what they paid it for. We've seen this with multiple cards, obviously in the past year, but this is a pretty not common phenomenon, especially in crypto. It's happened in stocks a little bit as well, a little bit with GameStop, but this is a pretty common phenomenon in crypto especially. But it's been rearing its ugly head into other investment spaces, CS skins, Pokemon cards especially. So I just wanted to deep dive in and just kind of give a quick little overview of what a pump and dump is and why you definitely want to be on the lookout for charts that just vertically go up because there was a large buyout. So the first card I want to talk about today is basically a recent contender onto this list. It's a very recent addition and it's been blowing up mainly because of a couple different reasons, but that's going to be Booger Mew, or otherwise known as the Solosis IR from Black and White, Flare, Bolt, whatever, whichever one. I'm not sure which exact. I think it's Black Bolt. But basically, this card was hyped up by a TikToker who said he was explicitly trying to pump the price up. He was very, inorganic about it. He was very blatant on what he was saying. And basically, he went out and bought a bunch of them and then realized, or had realized previously, that is the artist who makes the Bubble Mew. Then he coined the phrase Booger Mew because it looks like a booger and it's also shaped like a ball and all sorts of things. And it kind of just ran wild on TikTok for a little bit. People were like, oh my gosh, this is adorable. It's the same artist as the Bubble Mew. It's going to go crazy and yada, yada, yada. Long story short, price pumped super high. I think it pumped up to like $80 at one point. I think it's obviously hit the dump part of its phase in this cycle, and it's now sitting at like $40. I still think that's incredibly expensive for a brand new card and a brand new set, so I'd be very careful buying in even at $40. This was, mind you, a $8 to $10 card just a month or two ago, so if you're looking to pick it up, just wait. I promise you it'll drop back down to affordable prices again. More and more stuff will get opened and it'll drop in prices. People go, oh, $40 card, I can sell that. I made my money back on the ETB I bought or something like that. People are going to sell it. It's going to flood the market. It's happened with all the other pump and dumps, and that's just the most recent example. I think maybe even the newest, that same TikToker, also the newest edition is going to be like, I don't know, Bubble or Rubber Dynamo or Rubber Mew as they're trying to say. It's basically the Dynamo illustration rare in black and white, and it has like a little stalactite that looks kind of, you know what I'm talking about if you've seen the card. And basically they're saying that's Rubber Mew now and doing the exact same thing, trying to pump it. It is pumped to insane levels as well, up to like $60-70 a card, which again, for an illustration rare that isn't of a popular Pokemon, is absolutely outrageous. So just be careful out there. Don't be buying into these hypes. Don't be buying into Booger Mews and Rubber Mew. People are giving random nicknames to these things because it makes people think about it and talk about it easier. So just be careful with your money on buying these sorts of cards. Another pump and dump that I did want to talk about, and this one isn't as recent because this was back in January when this happened. I'm just going to kind of talk about where the card has gone since then. And that's going to be the Drowsy illustration rare from Scarlet and Violet base. Now this card was pumped to high heaven. It was again like a $10 card. It was pumped to like $70-80. It dropped all the way back down to like $25 to $30, and it's kind of just sat here. And obviously that's not as low as you could have bought it before. But the thing with Scarlet Violet base is obviously it's an older set. Like, it's going out of rotation. They're not really making more of it because they're having to focus on the new stuff. and it's going out of rotation. So it's like the least priority thing. It wasn't a super popular set in the first place. So the thing with Drowsy is there's not a whole lot more being opened up and added to the market, unlike the Booger Mew and stuff like that, which is a very new set. They're going to be more printed for that. But the Drowsy obviously didn't have a whole lot more come to market, so that's why the price stabilized even above where it was previously at like $20 to $30. And that's kind of, it's still lower than where you bought it. If you paid $70 for the card, you were down like over half your money. Like, it's absolutely insane. So just be careful buying into these hypes, guys. Like, I'm preaching to the wind right now to a lot of people, because people keep buying in and it keeps working somehow, and they keep making money. So if you're just not buying in and you're just patient with buying these sorts of cards, you can do well. Now, obviously, there is some cards that have pumped and then didn't drop back down to the original price because they did have kind of an organic demand to them. I'm talking about the Gold Star, I think, Umbreon remake, and then the Gold Star Greninja. Those are both like popular Pokemon, so it's harder for those to drop all the way back down to like $1 or something like that. Now, Greninja has steadily risen back up, and it's a popular Pokemon. There's still tons of those around, so I'd be careful if you're investing it. Same for the Gold Star Umbreons. These are popular Pokemon, so it's harder for them to drop back down because there will be an organic collector demand that want to buy them, unlike Booger Mews and things like that. So those are the types of cards you got to avoid. And obviously, if it's a popular Pokemon, maybe I don't want to say FOMO in, but maybe you just have to be okay with missing out on something if it does go in price and it doesn't drop back down. That's where you got to kind of be like, okay, well, I can't FOMO into this because it's rising in price, but I also can't FOMO into it because even if I do miss it, I got to be okay with just missing it because it's not coming back down. Like, it's something you just have to live with. You don't have to buy everything, you don't have to collect everything, because sometimes things get priced out of your price range. And if you want it so bad, just save up a little bit of money. Don't go out of your way to put it on a credit card or something like that to buy it. Just wait your time. It'll probably come back down, especially once like the crash or correction, I want to say more likely, comes about and we start seeing prices start to level back out. So yeah, those are a couple of the examples of like the hype stuff, the stuff that's just purely based on FOMO, just trying to get people to buy into something that obviously has, not a whole lot of organic collectability. And that's what you want to be looking for, is organic demand. Something like the Charizard from Obsidian Flames was undervalued at $45. It was an SIR of a top, not a top tier set, but like of an older set that's going out of rotation. It being $45 as the main chase with, it's not easy to pull, but it's not like super difficult, but it being at $45 when every other chase of the generation seems to be super high, made a lot of sense. There was a lot of organic demand that suddenly realized that and started purchasing the card because they're like, this is a pretty nice looking card. It looks cool. I believe people are going to change their opinions on this in the future. I'm going to buy it, yada, yada, yada. That's an organic kind of demand and growth for it. Obviously, it peaked and now it's going back down, but I think it'll retrace back down to similar levels where it will just kind of stay in the $90 to $80 range instead of dropping back down to like $45, because that was underpriced. That wasn't reasonable for a card of that sort of stature to be at, because there's organic collector demand because it's a Charizard, it's an SIR, it's the main chase of the entire set. It just made more sense for people to, have that card go up more. Things like Booger Mew, those are inorganic demand. That is literally somebody explicitly saying, I'm going to pump this card and make it more expensive, which is going to increase people wanting it, FOMOing, buying, and make me a bunch of money. Those are the types of things to avoid at all costs. Just wait it out. That card will be back down. Look at the Brute Bonnet from way back in the day in January as well. That one's even lower than what it was like when it pumped and when it was selling for previously. So just be careful. Be patient. Don't FOMO into these things. Look for organic demand, not inorganic demand. That's how you make money in this space. Like if that's what you're trying to do, if you're trying to make plays and stuff like that, look for organic demand. Look for Pokemon people actually want to collect. Now, if you're just wanting, like me, like to buy something that you want to collect, like hold on to, like this Rock and Roll, this is like a population of 3. Like, it's a cool card. I paid $100 for it. It doesn't have a super organic demand. Not a ton of people want Rock and Roll. I think the card's worth $100. Now, if somebody offered me $300, I'd sell it. But I'm not like trying to go out of my way to, sell it to people, go to shops, offer, go to card shows with it, because I want it. But that's the type of thing where it's like, you got to be careful for organic and inorganic. If this suddenly pumped to $300, I'd know it's be inorganic and I'd probably sell it. Now, if the Charizard pumped to $300, I know it's organic because it's Charizard. So you just look for those types of differences between cards, Pokemon, the artwork, things like that are really what set it apart. But yeah, that wraps it up for me today. If you understand this sort of stuff, I promise you, you are ahead of 90% of the other people in the market. And 90% of people don't subscribe. So if you could like and subscribe, help me out a ton. You'd also be ahead of almost everyone else in the market. So if you are interested, like I said, enjoy the video, like and subscribe helps me out a ton. If you enjoyed this sort of thing and like this sort of content, I post more videos like this every couple days or so. I try and stick to a schedule, but schedule's been all over the place with events and stuff like that going on. But overall, that's it for today's video. Like I said, look for organic demand, not inorganic. Don't follow hype. Don't fall into FOMO. You'll make it out ahead, I promise you. So that's going to be it for me today. Take care.